Hi class, we were going to do a custom banner for our Google Classroom, and each one of you were going to get the shape of a trapezoid to kind of fill a few things related to your identity and things that represent you into that space, and then I will put them all together and it'll look awesome. It'll represent your class. So I want you to go to photopea.com, open from computer, a downloaded copy of your fit your items in this gray shapefile .psd. You're looking to stash maybe between 5 and 10, somewhere around that. If you have 3 big ones, that's fine. It's not a big deal. You're going to be using the same skills, and I'll teach you how to select and cut out things in this video. Make a list in advance of the things you want to include on here. I've got a few that are open in tabs here. The first is a Death Star, because I like Star Wars. And if I right click on this image, I found one that's easy to select around. I can go to open image in new tab. That'll guarantee that I don't have any extra stuff. And I can right click on it and say copy image. Going back to Photopea, I will paste that. Ctrl V. You'll notice that it'll take up maybe way too much room. And right now I have auto select and transform controls selected, and please keep those selected, and you'll resize from a corner. Make sure that in Photopea, because it lets you adjust both horizontal and vertical dimensions, that you hold down Shift as you move from a corner, and that will resize it proportionally. Don't worry at this stage about making it a certain color. I want all of them to be roughly the same kind of color or in the same color family, a hue. And so maybe you'll make all of yours orange or green or something, but don't worry about that just yet. Let's figure out how to get all these pictures in here first. This Death Star was really easy to bring in because it was already a PNG. That means it has a transparent background, just like this checkerboard pattern back here. There's no pixels there. But some of the other images will have a background, and you'll have to select that and delete it. Let's say I found a picture of a soccer ball with a blank white background, which is smart to look for. You can even put white background in your Google search term. So I'm going to right click on this, say open image in new tab. There it is, nice and bold. I'm going to copy it, and back in Photopea I'm going to paste it. Ctrl V to paste. Now this is quite massive, you can see. I'm going to hold down Shift and drag from a corner. Keep those proportions locked. And if it's so big, you might need to zoom out. You can zoom out by pressing Control minus or Control plus to zoom back in, and that'll let you see the corners of the corner anchors of your image. So with this, where it's really easy, there's a big difference between what you want selected and what you want not selected. You would go to the Magic Wand tool. The Magic Wand is nested inside the Object Selection tool. Click on Magic Wand, and in this white space you're going to make sure your feather is 0 if you're wanting a sharp edge. Having a feather of maybe 10 pixels or something like that will create a soft edge to your selection. Increase the tolerance by dragging on the word tolerance. 32 is what Photoshop defaults to, so give that a whirl. And you click in the white space. Now you'll notice that the selection bled into the soccer ball. So I'm going to click once again in there and change the tolerance down so that it thinks that these white pixels are different than these white pixels. So click on it again. That's not bad, but how is it doing at a close level? I'm holding spacebar right now while I'm really zoomed in to navigate myself around. You can see there's going to be a little bit of a hazy kind of white line there. So I'm going to try that again. If I zoom out, I'm holding down Control and spacebar and dragging right now, which is how Photopea does it. Tolerance of 15, let's give it a shot. Not bad. So if you're happy with that edge, you can leave it, or you can go to Select and modify that selection, expanding it by something like 1 pixel. I know that cuts off a little bit, but for the sake, I don't care. So now you're gonna look around it selected all around that soccer ball, so that's good. I think I missed a little bit here, so we'll delete that in a second. But you can press delete on your keyboard while you're on layer 2, the layer with the soccer ball on it, or whatever shape you have on it, and get rid of it. So let's see, holding down spacebar, move to the bottom. You can go to your eraser tool, and with sharpness, you can just clean up that little spot. Okay, done. Press Ctrl minus to zoom yourself out, and the move tool, or the arrow tool, is the tool to use to move objects around. Okay, so I've got 2 objects in here. Let's get another one. Let's just say I'm a huge fan of oranges. These are attractive to me, so I am going to take some. You'll notice when I'm selecting through these images, some of them are massive, 4,300 by 2,400 roughly pixels. That's awesome. So if I click on this and I say open image in new tab, you'll notice there's a magnification tool sign which shows that I can get really close. So I'll copy this image, go back to Photopea, and paste it again. Might take a second because it's so big. And you can see how just giant that is. I'm going to press Ctrl minus, Ctrl minus, Ctrl minus, Ctrl minus, and we can move this image around so it's a little bit more tightly sized. Hold down Shift while I do so. Make sure that it is locking. And as you can tell, I'm kind of going with a circle theme here with my self-representation. Once you're happy with the size, you can press this check mark to confirm your action on that layer, and press Ctrl 0 to jump back into a full view. Now this one looks most complete, so I don't think I will be able to use the magic wand around this. Look at this. If I click here, and even if I change the tolerance, it's gonna be a lot of trouble to sort out what it's gonna select around. So I'm gonna have to do this one manually. I think the best tool for this one manually will be the magnetic lasso selection tool. Magnetic will select around the edge of something if there's a strong contrast between those 2 lines. So here's dark orange, here's light orange. It'll know what I want to select, even if I'm not exact. So if I'm clicking and I just let it kind of run along that shape, I'll do the best I can to be close, and I can change any errors later. And I'm going to scoot along here. Scoot along, keep on going. You might find this hard to do on your Chromebook because trackpads are just not as good as mouse devices for this kind of thing. So I've got my selection. I can zoom in on the areas that I want to by holding Control and spacebar and dragging in or out from a space. So I'm holding just spacebar now to move myself around once I'm close up. And I can use my lasso selection to deselect part of that, subtract from that selection. You can click on that, or if you're in this mode, you can hold down Alt, and that'll automatically toggle to the subtract from selection tool. So that's gone, and if I press Ctrl 0, it looks like everything else is decent. So in layer 3, because I've selected around this orange, I can now press Ctrl X and cut it out of that layer. The rest of the layer I don't really need, so I can throw it in the garbage, drag it down towards that garbage bin, and I can press Ctrl V to paste that orange into its own layer 3. Using the move tool, I can drag it into a better place, and you can just drag them around and make them overlap the way you'd like them to. That way we can avoid having this orange be shown. Remember, it's only going to fit within this gray trapezoidal space that you've got. So I should resize these and hold down Shift while I'm doing so. Move them into position. Oh, I got to confirm those. And that one I might want full size. Careful. This is an interesting interaction between shapes. Just be careful as you make this, that what you're doing is still attractive within the little frame that you've made. So I think in the end this will end up looking like a kind of fish scale appearance if I keep moving things so that they are, you know, roughly the same size and also in the same shape. So I might want to vary that up a little bit for variety's sake. But let me get a few more images and we'll see where we go. So we have covered the lasso selection. If you click and hold, there's also the magnetic lasso tool that you've used, and the polygonal lasso tool might be good in this kind of situation. Personally, I would start this by
by using the magic wand and selecting this background. See, it's pretty uniform, so I'm going to decrease the tolerance, select that, and you'll notice it grabbed a bunch of shadow as well. So I'd click, increase the tolerance, and see if it grabs some of that space. And let's just say I'm not happy with it. Well, you don't have to throw out all of this selected stuff. You can zoom in, Control Spacebar, drag towards, and use the Polygonal lasso tool. The Polygonal lasso works by making straight lines. So we are going to add to our selection this time because this stuff has not yet been selected. So in order to add, you can click on this one that says Unite, or you can hold down Shift, and Shift will add. So you click once, and then it gives you a straight line, and you can click, especially if it's curved, you might have to click a few times. And I'm just clicking along this edge to make it selected. If you're zoomed in and you need to get further along on the image, you can hold down spacebar to trigger that hand again, and then move along and let go back where your mouse originally was. So I'm just going to select around here, and the process is the same for each. I was off a little bit there, that's not a huge issue. And then you'd go back to your starting point. I'm going to hold spacebar again, back to your starting point, around, and that should complete your selection. Okay, I would do the same thing with the others, but for the sake of time, let's move on. Press delete on your keyboard to get rid of all that stuff. And if I zoom out, Control 0. In fact, I decided I don't want the rest of those brushes. No problem, I can take my lasso and pretty quickly draw a big line all around them. Delete on my keyboard. Done. Let's say I want to get fancy with that layer. I use my move tool. I can copy this layer by saying duplicate layer, and I've got two layers like it now. I can take this, I can spin it around. Oops, Control Z to undo things. Spin it around. Let's do 45-degree angle. Yes. So let me move this out of the way. I'll get this layer. Rotate that to 45-degree angles. I'm just holding down Shift so it locks into some of the stable angles. Select the right layer. Okay. I can actually merge these layers by holding down Control to select more than one layer. Going up to the layer menu and saying merge layers. Control E is another way to do that. Control E. Okay, so that now the pixels are united on layer 2 copy, and I can move them around. Next is the color part. We're trying to make an interesting kind of rainbow or multicolored banner, all unique to you. And in order to change the colors of these objects, we're going to have to maybe first start with the shape that'll be used, this bottom gray layer, and go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. The shortcut for that is Ctrl U. So hold down Control and click U. I know that's a far stretch. Make sure you're on the right layer when you do so. Ctrl U. And please colorize. Colorize will make it automatically neutral until you begin to saturate. And once you increase the saturation, you can change the hue to be anything you'd like. Say we want something kind of coppery. By trial and error, you find it. So that's my coppery brown. And then I'm going to get all these other items to fit that same color family. So Control U again. And colorize. Change the saturation a little higher. And I'm going to drag it a little bit towards that coppery brown tone. Okay, do the same thing for the others. Okay, so I'm finishing up with the Death Star. Okay. And you can still move these into position. It's nice to have that background color function as the color that'll sit behind all the others so that you don't have any of those odd gaps. This sharp pointed element to my image is going to get too associated with the sheriff badge, so I'm going to move this element up. I'm going to move some of these down. Make sure they fit nicely within the bounds of this trapezoid shape. Just a heads up, as I'm doing this, I'm realizing the most frustrating thing about this is after I've modified some image, so you have to go really far away from the object before you can select another layer. Okay, let's say I'm happy with this arrangement. The question is now, how do I get these extra elements that are on the outside of the trapezoid cut off so that it'll fit into a neat design? You've got a bunch of different layers. You've got to basically merge everything together. So you click on the first layer, you hold down Shift, you click on the topmost layer so that all the layers are selected, and then you press Ctrl, Shift, Alt, and E at the same time. And you end up creating a merged layer of all of the other layers together, but importantly, it's on its own layer. And we can take the visibility off the other layers for a moment, and we'll click on this thing that says the shape that'll be used. Hold down Ctrl and click on this little thumbnail, and that will select everything inside the trapezoid. Going up to layer 2 copy, the all merged layer, you can test out what happens if you press delete. Look at it, deletes everything that's inside that layer. You want to delete everything on the outside of that layer. Press Ctrl Z. You'll need to go up to select and inverse in order for it to select the open space around what you have. And then you can press delete. Click somewhere, so you deselect, and you've got your little glimpse of you. In order to save it so that it can be given to me, you can go to File, Save as a PSD. Always start with your last name, and then your first name, and then a little glimpse you can call it, or whatever you want to call it. Finished. Press Save, and that saves it as a PSD. Because it's also going to be used as part of a banner, I want you to save it as something that will fit easily in with others. So because a transparent background is helpful in this case, please save it as a PNG file, export as PNG. Save. And again, name it properly so that we know who made it and what it is. You can type out the PNG extension, but it will likely add it to the file name anyway. Press Save. And then that PNG is what you're going to hand in to me through the Google assignment page. Can't wait to see what you made.